If you're anything like me, then you probably are pretty disappointed in some of the recent releases of games, and you're probably a Borderlands fan. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jiffy Nano, and while I love the Borderlands franchise, I am personally not a huge fan of the arms race mode. And I'll probably make a video on that topic on its own some other time, but I am, however, a fan of the co-op nature of arms race, and recently I've been really wanting to play something with a few friends of mine, and I've been pretty burnt out on the games I've been playing lately, from the skill-based matchmaking Call of Duty to just general boredom and my gaming ADD taking hold. I have found myself searching for games that I can play with friends that won't frustrate us and will pass a decent amount of time, and the roguelike genre fits this perfectly. Gunfire Reborn is a roguelite that seems to have drawn a lot from Borderlands for inspiration, although there isn't really anything proving that theory. Gunfire is a first-person shooter made by a small indie studio out of Hong Kong called Do Yi Interactive. It features a low poly art style and mostly randomized dungeons that you have to take your hero through, collecting weapons, upgrades to progress further into the next area, and so on and so forth. The core roguelike gameplay loop is pretty phoned in at this point for games like this, and for good reason. This makes each subsequent run through these dungeons feel different, even if this particular game's tile set is pretty limited. You'll likely run into the same room in the first stages of the game pretty often, but there was enough diversity here to keep me and my friends coming back, and what stands out the most for me is the weapons and abilities in this game, which is where the Borderlands influence comes in. So as of recording this, there are 3 heroes you can play as: this cat guy, who is only referred to as the Crown Prince in his description, the persona of Salvador from Borderlands 2, and Jet from Sonic Riders. Each of these characters, along with looking like some of the Sonic OCs I made back in 2007, have different cooldown and consumable abilities ranging from phase lock to Ganon kick, or even plain old grenades. You also get to augment or buff these abilities using the Ascension system, which is kind of a temporary skill tree you can upgrade throughout your run. When you finish each level in a dungeon, you pick up an Ascension Chalice. They don't explicitly say what they are, they're only referred to as Ascension, and these items give you a choice of 3 random upgrades to your character's Ascension trees. Each character has 3 Ascension trees with talents and passives that affect your abilities, some changing how they work, and others just giving flat bonuses. This system makes even playing the same character over and over feel different every time, since you never know what passives you're going to get. As with most roguelikes, this randomness extends to not just the skills, but also goes for occult scrolls and weapons. You can hold 2 different weapons plus your basic pistol, this pistol being one of the few constants in the game as it can't be unequipped and has unlimited ammo, and upgrades itself as you progress through the run, so you always have something to use in a pinch. There is quite a few weapons in Gunfire, nowhere near Borderlands levels or even some of the other roguelikes out there, but there are 42 different weapons currently in the game, and they've been continuously adding more as updates come out. All the weapons have felt very different and unique, which makes finding new ones very exciting. Finding new weapons is tied to the challenge system and ends up being part of the overarching persistent progression system. By completing challenges during a run, you not only unlock the weapon for future runs, but you also unlock it right then and there, and it can be used right away. This is a super cool system, usually involving killing a specific enemy in a specific way or a certain amount of times. This kind of system allows for the feeling of progression and the feeling of discovery, much like finding a cool legendary or exotic item in loot-based games. Most of the challenges themselves are things that you'll be doing throughout your runs anyway, so you don't have to specifically target a challenge to complete it. You'll likely finish it eventually, but you can target a specific challenge if you want to. And like I mentioned earlier, all the weapons are unique, with very few feeling the same. I would say almost none feel the same, but the 2 kunai type weapons feel pretty similar even though they do 2 completely different things. Each of the weapons has a unique ability, ranging from alternate firing modes, special status effects, or elemental damage. The elemental damage works exactly like Borderlands, with shock dealing more damage against shields, corrosive being best against armor, and fire being best against normal HP. Also like Borderlands, these elements have a status effect chance that can deal damage over time. In addition to abilities and elements, a weapon can also have an inscription. Inscriptions are randomized effects that can increase damage, mag size, or even give increased crit chance based on how much ammo you've used. These inscriptions, along with weapon upgrades, make getting the same weapon in the same run not nearly as frustrating as it could be without them, because it could be an upgrade to your overall kit. And the last of the upgrades that you can receive during a run to increase the power of your character are occult scrolls. These scrolls work more like your traditional roguelike upgrades, giving abilities and passives as long as you hold them. These are extremely similar to the items you would normally receive in The Binding of Isaac or Risk of Rain. Most of these occult scrolls you will get by doing vaults or killing bosses, but you can get them by doing challenges, killing elites, or buying them from chests or the peddler. Not all occult scrolls are pure benefit though, some being cursed scrolls which can actually hurt your run, and while most other scrolls could be dropped so you can share with co-op players, cursed scrolls cannot. Cursed scrolls are usually obtained by chance-based chests, and in my playtime I have only gotten one cursed scroll, which increased my peddler prices, so that wasn't all too bad, but there are some that give you increased damage as you lose HP, which could be pretty devastating. Now, weapons, abilities, and upgrades are only good if you have enemies to use them on, and the enemies in this game are actually pretty good. There is a decent variety you end up fighting in each area, all with different ways they attack. Some are easy and some are much harder than others. Even in the first area, the longbowmen deal significantly more damage than most of the other enemies, so they pose a huge threat along with bombers, which are your basic run at you explode enemy, and certain combination of enemies and traps can even make the first level of the game quite a challenge. Then there are the bosses. Bosses can be really hard in this game. The first floor bosses regularly kick my ass if I don't have a good setup, their mechanics not being necessarily hard to understand, but rather more difficult to master. Timing and dodges have to be pretty spot on, else you'll be killed in 1 to 3 hits, and there's nothing cluing you in on how to beat the boss. This is pretty par for the course when it comes to roguelikes, but in this game, for some reason, it feels like the dungeons take longer than others, so losing to a boss you know nothing about can be frustrating when you have to take another 20 minutes to get back to it. My only other issue with bosses in this game is the amount. There's only 1 to 2 bosses for each area, and maybe I've been spoiled by games like Isaac and Enter the Gungeon, who have 3 to 4 bosses, sometimes more for each floor, but only having 1 to 2 seems a bit low in my opinion. And honestly, that's my only real issue with Gunfire as a whole. I like this game and I want to see more added to it. Like I said, this is probably a bias due to the ridiculous amount of content more mainstream roguelikes have, but I feel like this game would be infinitely better if it had 2 or 3 times the content it has now. Doogie Interactive does have a roadmap out for the updates, and according to them, they plan on adding 3 new characters, more bosses, weapons, and scrolls, reworking the talents, and a brand new starting area before full release, so it's kind of difficult to really judge the game right now. But in conclusion, if you like simple first-person shooters, roguelike games, Borderlands, co-op, did I mention co-op? This game has 4-player co-op, which is super cool. Anyways, I think you'll like this game. I like it a lot. I've had a lot of fun. My friends have a lot of fun, even though it can be difficult and frustrating at times, but for $12 US on Steam, you can't really go wrong with it. And good news for people who are on console or even mobile, because they recently announced that Gunfire Reborn should be coming to Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, Google Play, and the Apple Store in 2021, which is extremely cool. Hopefully we get some crossplay, because that would be super sick too. So let me know what you all think of Gunfire Reborn. It's obviously still in development, but even now it's a super solid game. The roadmap of updates is super exciting, and depending on how this video does, I'll likely do follow-up videos for all those updates as they come out. So if you like this video, a like rating is always appreciated. Consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you see my future uploads. Also, I'm experimenting with the style of my content a little bit here, so let me know in the comments what you guys think. Check out my live stream over on Twitch, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.